Oh no, I'm not going to run you through a strongman event, sir. I'm going to run you through a strongman full-day competition.
Full day? Yeah, but you're not going to be doing a full day mobility. That's not anywhere. It's not the same scale. It's like an entirely different.
Right? When you compete in strongman, you do a full-day competition.
All right, let's do it. I've seen you lose tons of weight on a few different diets, and you really dive into stuff, but you get as strict as you can. But like I'm saying, you're not a nutritionist,
Well, let's give
right?
some context there, because you can't have the entire audience of 47 people thinking that I was just a giant fatty, right? Is that
You weren't always a giant fatty, but at points, it just looks really nice.
It looks great.
Such a shame. If you get a lot of use out of it, it's eventually going to break, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you keep dropping with a lot of weight on it, would
Yeah.
for sure. But look, I'm a bit of a handyman, so it might be all right.
just keep fixing it.
Yeah, just keep it. No, I mean. Alrighty, everybody, welcome to the Strength Institute podcast. We've got a new setup today. We're in the office at the gym. I've got Adrian. Adrian is the new employee here at the Strength Institute. And I guess today's podcast is a little different. We're going to be probably a bit more of an introduction to the pair of us, because unless you know us or are already training here, you don't really know that much about us. So I guess I'll start with myself really quickly.
Yeah.
Is that I was in uni doing architecture, hated it.
Wait, what? You were doing architecture? I actually never knew that.
Sure was. Did architecture. Did a year of it.
Architecture?
Architecture. Did
Okay,
a year of it.
First of all, why architecture?
Because when I was growing up...
Also, how did I not know this?
Yeah, I don't know. Man of many talents.
Okay.
When I was growing up, Dad was heavily involved in a lot of big developments in terms of sort of like developing land and stuff like that. So I could go into the offices and look at all the architects and the urban planners using all of their SketchUp and AutoCADs, and I thought it was really cool. So I was like, oh, I'll do that, and went to UWA, and it was a very backwards degree back then. They said you're not going to touch a computer until fourth year, and we're drawing bowls of fruit in year one. I was like, this is not architecture, and I'm not having a bar of it. So I stopped, and I went and worked in construction for a little while, tried to find out some things that I was into. And basically, I broke my arm playing rugby. I was like, well, what do I want to do now? And I ended up going back to do my Cert 3 and 4 in personal training. Loved it. I was like, I need to learn more. So re-enrolled back at uni for exercise and sports science. When I finished that degree, I got myself a job while I was working during that time at
When did
another
you start
personal training.
ran off during that point?
Yeah, I was at another personal training studio. I was working with them after my Cert 3 and 4, so probably around 2009.
Okay,
And
so I started with them
2008?
2010, and that's
Yeah.
when we first met. It's 10 years this
We've
year.
known each other for over 10 years now. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so I was working at Renoff. I was going to uni for my sports science degree. I finished that. I just wanted to keep learning, so I went back and did my master's degree in strength and conditioning. And during that time, got credited up with the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association, with Powerlifting Australia, and just kept sort of learning from there. I was working. Then when I went back to uni again for an MBA, is when I decided that I wanted to start my own business, and I was working from home for 4 years, 2 years part-time, 2 years full-time, until I could open up this place. Cool. And take it away.
And then here we are, right now, in this gym. That's a hell of a journey. I got to say, I had no idea that you started out in architecture. I can't believe I've never... Yeah, interesting stuff. Well, where do I even start? I did a bunch of stuff before I even got into PT. I had like a bunch of weird jobs, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do right from high school, and nothing really ever stuck until I got into the whole PT thing. Went to TAFE. I was living in Mandurah and was doing TAFE through when Renoff were running a course at the time, actually, in Shenton Park.
Wait, you did your Cert 3 and 4 through Shenton Park?
Yes, I did. So they used to run their own course.
They did. It was not long-lived, that course.
It wasn't long-lived. We were the second. There was a group before us and a group after us, and it was Ken. I think after three years it was, or three groups. Yeah. And actually really lucky that I did that, because it wasn't just like a typical personal training thing. They hit all the criteria that you had to hit, but they also made it more specific to personal training. So a lot of the stuff that we did was a lot more helpful than a lot of the courses that are out there now anyways.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, it's easy to say that, but it's 100% true. Like there's so many different personal training courses, online, in person, and I probably learned 80% of my go-to personal training on the actual gym floor.
On the gym floor, you learn so much more. And
experience is
they did
invaluable.
a lot more theory, a lot more practical than they did theory. They made sure that we did all the theory we had to do, but they focused more on what they thought would be beneficial as well. So yeah, and then after that, I was just kind of like, hey, give me a job, and I travelled from Mandurah to Perth, or Duncraig, where the gym was, a couple of weeks in a row on like a Saturday. And they were like, when they found out, they're like, yeah, absolutely, move closer and you'll get a job. And that's when I started Renoff. And then I just kind of stuck with it ever since. I fell in love with it. I get distracted and bored easy, so personal training was a good one that stuck for me, and I actually find it interesting. So I stuck with it from them and pretty much have stayed in the industry since. I did that, which was about 2009, started with Renoff 2010. And worked there for a little while, was going to get a job on the mines, and then it fell through, so I handed in my notice, then it fell through, and then I had to scramble for jobs. So I worked at like 4 or 5 different personal training studios, commercial gyms, which wasn't my favorite time. Then gym in the city, which was actually really good. And then after that, I just decided that I needed a little more, so I went to uni and did my Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science. And then after uni, I graduated 2 years ago, just kind of fell out of focus and lost my general direction, didn't really know what I wanted to do, and got this great idea where I would try and use my degree to get like a job, like a...
Wait a minute. All that time and money that you spent, you wanted to actually use it?
I know, right?
Outrageous.
So I stopped coaching for a while, and in that time actually, while I wasn't coaching, probably for about 2 or 3 years, while I was doing the degree, I went on and did like a bunch of self-development learning, learned a bunch of different training styles, went into capoeira for a while, learned some gymnastic stuff, calisthenic stuff, movement-based stuff, a whole range of different stuff, tricking as well. And it gave me a really big base of stuff that now I can apply to training coming back now, which was awesome. So when I graduated uni, I was kind of a bit lost, didn't really know what I was going to do. I was out of coaching at the time. I got a job as a DEXA technician for a while, trying to break into the
health side,
the health industry, that sort of thing. And I just was sitting in front of a computer screen all day, every day, and I did not like it.
Nope.
At all. Not even a little bit. It was breaking me on the inside a little bit, just being boxed in a room all day, every day. It was a bit too much for me. Can't handle it. This is more my environment. And so I got out of that, started working actually at Oz Harvest over the past year. Really, really enjoyed that job as a food rescue driver. And yeah, I kind of think that everything, it came around about back to you having your space here in a really nice way, because I was out of the industry. I was done with it, wasn't happy with it. It's really difficult to be a personal trainer in the industry at the moment, because everyone's just trying to, the high turnover of trainers, with the way that the payment schemes work, they're just trying to get people in, take as much money or get as much money out of them as they can, and then just kind of push them along.
It's a revolving door, and there's a lot of people will say it, and it's true. And I refuse to sell out. That's why here at the Sprint Institute, we do not do big group classes where you have 15, 20 people trying to squat with terrible technique to 1 to 2 coaches. I don't stand it, refuse to sell out, and that'll never happen here.
Actually, I want to touch on that point again.
Yes, please.
But yeah, so that was why this was such a opportunistic time for me, with you opening up the gym, me seeing it happen, where you went from where we met 10 years ago to now, just slowly building yourself up to having this business. And then having somewhere to actually work where you care a little bit. You know? Instead of caring about money, you care about the product and the people and everything. And so, yeah, I'm stoked. This kind of put a little bit of passion back in me.
Yeah. Well, it's been really good from my point of view as well, because when I was getting busier in here over the last, we've been open about 14, 15 months in the Joondalup location, since moving out of the garage start.
They were good times.
It was good times, and there's some strong people training out there as well. But it was time to expand, and but my time was getting less and less in here with availabilities. I was running out of space to put people, and it was sort of that time to reach out and get another trainer in. And I actually did advertise for a little bit, just on the Facebook and a few different places like that, looking for trainers, and it was hard. Like, it was hard to find people that I thought would be trustworthy. It was hard to find people that actually had a certain standard that they could bring to the table, that I thought, because I do want to keep a high standard here, and I didn't just want to go with the Weet-Bix certificate sort of personal trainer. And so I was like, well, I'll reach out to Adrian, because I know he's not working in the industry at the minute, but I know he's got an extensive background in movement, flexibility, mobility, as well as strength, which would really complement the training styles in here. And he was interested. And we originally started off, we'll give everyone a quick rundown. We were going to start off I'd already planned for 3 months of losses of paying you and not making any money. And within 8 weeks next week?
8 weeks, no. This week has been 8 weeks.
This week's 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And Adrian is already fully booked up his 20 hours with 20 clients, and we're going to put him onto up to 28 hours, and then 3.5 days was what you wanted to work on it. So
I remember sitting down where we went over the numbers, and you were saying that it would take, budgeting yourself to run at a loss for roughly 3 months, and that was done after 2 weeks.
It was.
Yeah.
Luckily.
That's nice.
Which is good.
Very luckily.
Very luckily.
Well, I don't even think luckily. It's been like pretty steadily increasing since then, and now I'm at capacity.
Well, and what's handy as well is because you've helped take a little bit of my workload too, and I'm now trying to focus on driving the social media monster, which I have been pretty poor at in the past, but I've got my checklist now. Every day I'm hitting Google Business and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and for those that are only listening, make your way over to the Strength Institute YouTube page, because in the next coming months, Adrian and I are doing a fully comprehensive video catalog on basically every single mobility, warm-up, cool-down exercise, stretches, strength training exercises, strongman events, powerlifting, set up, the do's, the don'ts, the variations, and it's going to be pretty cool. So that's an ongoing project of ours. We're also going to try to do a weekly podcast where we just shoot the breeze, but also talk about things that are currently happening in either the health and fitness industry or with competitive competition, and just have a bit of a good time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I've never done anything like this before, podcasts or even just free-form stuff where we can just talk about absolutely whatever we want. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes and what direction it goes in as well. There's a lot of stuff that we could say, but there's a lot of stuff that we shouldn't say. So it's gonna be really fun, I think, to see kind of what we can do with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, hold on, before we do go any further, I think even before that, do we need to give this a name or a tagline, right? Because you've got your professional podcast where you interview interesting people and the people who are like very qualified in their niche industries. Well, this one's just going to be a general, right?
Yeah.
Have a little bit of fun with it. Have you thought about any names for it?
There's a couple names floating around. Well, I did do one podcast earlier with Chris Hines from Reynolds as well, right?
I remember that.
Yeah, I called it
Talking Training?
Trainer Talk.
Trainer Talk.
Trainer Talk.
Yeah.
So it's Trainer Talk. We could call it Coach Chat.
We're not always going to have trainers, right? Like we've talked about a few ideas that we're going to have going forward. We're going to have just people like clients and friends and that sort of thing, right?
Absolutely. But we'll get a nice name, and it'll be good. I think over the next few weeks you're going to see some extra production value coming into the gym. We're going to get some little signs back here and some pot plants, and it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It'll be pretty cool.
I still think that he should be right smack bang on
the Conan the Barbarian?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now Conan will, alright, one sec. Oh, God.
You got to show them. You got to show
the people. Oh, Jesus. This is Conan. Conan is big unit.
Just for people that don't know, how much does that weigh?
It weighs over 20 kilos. And just a little bit of more of my history. So, even though I was doing personal training and I was a fan of strength training, when I was at uni, and those that listen to, I believe it was the third podcast, look at Dan Macri, the Strongman podcast. He got me into Strongman, and we were training out of his garage gym at the time. Yeah. I did the WA Strongest Man, won that. This was back in 2011. Qualified for Australia's Strongest Man. So basically, Dan got me into Strongman. We were training hard. I was doing it mainly for fun because I was enjoying it. And I thought, we'll give this thing a crack. And anyone that hasn't done Strongman that wants to get into it, reach out to us because we got a heap of the equipment and we got a pretty good unit. Actually got Megan, one of my competitors, she is flying over, or we're all flying over to the Arnold Classic Australia next week, and she's going to be trying to become Australia's strongest woman, which is pretty cool. She's already the state champ, smashed it in the 82 kilo division. She's dropped now to 73. She's even more of a weapon, stronger than she's ever been. So I'm really excited to see how that all comes along. Yeah. Back to this old Conan. When I won the states, just because you win back in the day, you didn't necessarily qualify to go over to Australia's Strongest Man. You do now. The first place winner is guaranteed.
Okay.
But back then what it was is they took, every state ran the same state competition, and so they took the results, and everyone went into the same draw. So if I won WA but was the 10th finisher, I wouldn't get invited. So Dan was like, are you going to go? And I said, look, if I finish in the top 3, I'll go, because I don't want to go and, I want to go to be competitive.
Yeah.
And so I qualified in 3rd place. So I was like, all
okay,
right,
cool.
I guess I'm going. So he had
Yeah.
qualified for the heavyweights that year. I qualified for the lightweights, which was under 105 kilos. The only
And
time
is the
ever
heavyweight
I've been a lightweight.
It's just over 105? Is there any
Yeah,
cap
back
there?
then it was over 105 or under 105. Now they have, I believe, under 80s, under 90s, 105ers, and opens, I believe. They really need like a 125 or something,
Yeah,
because
there's some
there's a
big
huge
dudes.
difference
There's a
between
big difference.
110 and 160 or 200 kilo guy, you know?
Yeah.
But this was the trophy. So Australia's Strongest Man. I ended up winning that one in 2011.
That's got to be like one of my favourite things that you own.
It's pretty cool. I've got a couple of just my rugby stuff and the other powerlifting competitions that I really enjoyed going to. But the Conan himself won that in Lismore, New South Wales. So 2 flights to get back home. I didn't have any tickets. I had to carry this sucker on with me. You do realize that your carry-on bag is 7.5 kilos. But it's not in my bag. It was sitting on my lap like this the whole way back.
Is that just concrete? Is it a concrete mold?
Well, it's a mold. It's mold cast. It's casted. I believe it's either cement or concrete. But it's freaking heavy. It's about 20 kilos.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So this is the Conan, and you'll see we'll be playing around with where stuff goes over the next few weeks for sure.
If anyone wants to come down and check out some of the strongman stuff, you've got quite a lot of stuff here. What is quite a lot of stuff for people who don't know? Like, what is all of the strongman equipment that you've got? On top of the usual gym stuff, like you do have a very impressive setup of general strength training equipment, but in terms of strongman stuff, that a lot of people just would not know what any of that is.
Yeah. So strongman is a very different sport. I'm a huge fan of powerlifting. I love it. I think it's great to show strength. You've got the squat, the bench, the deadlift. It's simple, but it's not easy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's simple, but it's not easy. You got to work hard. There's a heap of technique involved, but it's just 3 exercises. Plus your secondary. Strongman is really different because there are hundreds of different events, and the variations are endless.
Yeah.
So again, we'll be having a nice big full catalog of stuff coming out in the next few months with all these strongman things. But you have stuff like log press, yoke carry, farmer carries, atlas stones, sled pulls, tire flips. Anything that is awkward, you could make into a strongman event by making it heavy.
Yeah, I like some of the equipment, some of the stuff you got. I like the most actually. And I'm not sure if you made them. Do you still have them here? Your stones, your atlas stones?
I don't have all the stones here. I've moved them out just for space for now. But I do have the log that I made.
Yeah,
we could tell the log story.
I remember that.
All
actually.
right.
Yeah.
So, Western Power, if you're listening, block your ears. This is all just a hypothetical story.
Yeah.
All right. This may or may not didn't happen. Definitely happened.
Definitely.
So basically, I was actually having a chat with Ad, so our old boss, and I was telling him. I'll reset this so I know the time. I was telling him that I really wanted to get a strongman log. And I already had a steel one.
Yeah.
And this was again back in 2013-ish time. It's a while ago. And 2012 even, it was a while back, and back then you couldn't go to a Flex Fitness equipment or someplace and just get strongman equipment. No one sold it.
No.
So it was really hard to come by, and when you could find it, it was really expensive. And so I already had a big steel log that I bought from the organizer of Australia's Strongest Man after I'd won that in 2011, but I really wanted a wooden log. The only wooden logs that were for sale were from, Slater Stones? It's from the US, and it was thousands of dollars, not even to mention the shipping. It would cost way too much money.
Well, just because how much does it weigh without any of the weights or plates on it?
My steel one?
You're the one that you made.
The one that I made is 85 kilos empty. But you got to imagine, it's about 8 foot long and 10 to 12 inches diameter. It's a big old chunky Jarrah tree log.
We're gonna have to cut something in with one of us holding on to it so that they can see what you're talking
100%.
about. 100%. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically, I was like, I really want a wooden log, but it's so expensive to buy. There's no way. I was like, maybe I could make one. I was like, well, where do I get big logs from? And this is, again, it was before Facebook Marketplace and everything like that. So now you can just go and find big logs. They sell them on auction down in Harvey. But back then I didn't know where to find logs. I'm like, well, I want a big Jarrah log or a big heavy wood log. I'll call Western Power. They must know where they get theirs from or where they put the old ones that they pull down and replace with pine. So I called up Western Power. I was like, oh, look, it's kind of a weird request, but can you tell me what you do with all those old Jarrah logs that you pull down, to telephone poles, or where you get them from? Because I really would like to get a big sort of not a tree, but like a cylinder bit of wood,
Yeah.
And they wouldn't tell me, and
they wouldn't tell you.
Well, they didn't know. I was like, well, but someone has to know because I mean, you guys take them down and replace them all the time. So
Yeah.
like, what department do you think might know? And they're like, I can't help you, and we can't help you. And I talked to about 3 or 4 people, and no one wanted to help me. And so I was like, well, right, I guess I don't get it anyhow.
The tip, they probably just hopped them,
Yeah.
not knowing how valuable they were.
So basically, and a lot of them are in poor shape as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
When they're replacing
old,
with
right?
pine. Yeah, they are old.
How old are they?
I don't know, but they're replacing with pine now.
Yeah.
And so the next day, my old boss, he called me, he goes, you're not going to believe what just happened. He goes, there is a down Jared telephone pole, and they are going to replace it.
I remember this.
And so we drove over there, and we changed all that stuff.
How many people did you say it took to lift it onto
It was
the
2 of us, but Adam Strong as well. He was like Australia champion bodybuilder, so he was a big unit.
Yeah.
And I just won Australia's strongest man for the 105er, so like we had a good bit of muscle between us. So we chucked this down telephone pole, a portion of it, onto my old Subaru Outback, the old station wagon.
Yeah.
And the whole car is on a tilt. So this is not safe at all. We strapped it down as best we could. I drove like an absolute nana on the way home. Ended up weighing it, and well,
Before you cut it down to
not
size,
well.
right?
I cut some big chunks off, and I weighed those chunks, and then that I could figure out how much the whole thing weighed. About 180 kilos. This log weighed by itself, and so we got this poor car was on a tilt. I get home. I didn't have any tools, so I went to Bunnings and bought like chisels and chainsaws and electric planers.
I remember you hocking out a big hole with the chainsaw.
Yeah, and then hand chiseling it out.
Yeah.
And piece by piece, I built this Jera Strongman log, and we'll splice some video and pictures in, but it's pretty legit now.
Yeah.
So that's how that log came to be.
I like the finishing touches with the rope and everything.
Yeah,
it
gotta get the rope there.
It looks
Marine
nice as well. It looks
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah.
That was a good project actually. Yeah, I still think it's too heavy to do it, but that should be something. I don't think you should use it very much. I think you should just have that somewhere where you hang above like a door, a garage, or something like that. It just looks really nice.
It looks great.
Such a shame if you get a lot of use out of it. It's eventually going to break, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you keep dropping with a lot of weight on it, would
Yeah.
for sure. But look, I'm a bit of a handyman, so it might be all right.
just keep fixing it.
Yeah, just keep it. No, I mean, like, hopefully I made it good enough that it's not going to break. But yeah, no, it doesn't really get used now. It's against the corner of the wall in the gym.
Yeah.
Just it's more as a showpiece, really. And people need to, if people want to use it, they have to be really comfortable controlling the steel log before I let them use the wooden
How much
one.
is the steel log?
The steel one empties 75.
75?
But I mean, you can load it up to hundreds. It's
Trouble.
It's
even
a
getting
unit.
better.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't touched any of the strongman stuff. Actually, that is a very good point. I have not done any strongman work.
No.
Like, at all. I feel like I have to now that I'm here.
Well,
and that I'm working here.
This is something else that we talked about that we're going to get going, which is going to be the
Yeah.
role reversal. So basically, we're going to have a little mini series on YouTube where
Yeah,
I
it's gonna
do
be
all
fun.
of Adrian's mobility exercises and
Not just mobility, because
Oh,
I do a
God.
lot of other stuff. I do a lot of explosive movement-based training, like all the flips and tricks and things that I do as well. You gotta try that stuff. I just want to see it.
Mate,
Also, I do think for the last 10 years you've been asking me to show you how to do a backflip.
this
so
is
that's
true.
going to be in there
This
as well.
is true. I will learn how to do the backflip.
And then I'll have to go through and do. I guess you could run me through just a strongman event.
Oh no, I'm not going to run you through a strongman event, sir. I'm going to run you
What?
through a strongman full day competition.
Full day. Yeah, but you're not going to be doing a full day mobility. That's not anywhere. It's not the same scale. It's like an entirely different.
Right? When you compete in strongman, you do a full day competition.
All right, let's do it.
So,
All right, then I'm gonna have to put. Okay, I'll put something together. You put something together, and then
Done.
we'll release it in bits.
so stay tuned for that bit because that's going to come up. It's going to be awesome.
That'll be exciting. Actually, I'm
Yeah.
really excited about it.
Yeah, nice.
In terms of what we're going to be doing in the future with this podcast, because this is the very first one, and it's all new to me, anyways. I have no idea what I'm doing. We had a couple of ideas of what we want to do moving forward. So we've got one where we're going to talk about the whole carnivore thing. And we're going to have a guest speaker.
That's
Sounds
right.
Fancy. We're going to have a guest speaker come in and just talk about how we went. Nothing too. It's going to be. Oh, speak of the devil.
Speak of the devil, there he is.
It's nothing specific, nothing scientific. It's really just anecdotal, like how we did it compared
Is
to
this-
templates that are out there, that sort of stuff, and then how we felt with it and just how it's going.
Yeah.
Just like just to let the people know, just to chat.
Is this the Bro Science podcast?
It might be
Oh,
the Bro Science
no.
podcast.
All right.
Because you've got your professional podcast, right?
I've got the science-based professional podcast.
Yeah, and so this one is more of a...
The Bro Science podcast.
Because you do try... I've seen you lose tons of weight on a few different diets, and you really dive into stuff, but you get as strict as you can, but like I'm saying, you're not a nutritionist,
Well, let's give
right?
some context there, because you can't have the entire audience of 47 people thinking that I was just a giant fatty, right? Is that
You weren't always a giant fatty, but at points...
I fluctuate my weight depending on what I'm doing. So when I was playing first grade rugby,
Yeah.
I was about 116 to 118 kilos here in Australia. When I was in the US playing rugby, it was cold. They had to snowplow the field for us before games sometimes, and it was a slower brand of rugby. So I had to go up even heavier because the boys are big Samoans, big Americans. So I had to go up to about 125 kilos when I was in the US.
When you were heaviest.
But then, naturally, I'm much closer to 100, mid-90s. So I will fluctuate my weight 15, 20, 25 kilos, depending on what at the moment, I'm on my way back down for some jiu-jitsu competitions. So I'll be getting down to the low 90s in the next month or so.
Yeah, because I've seen you go up and down about 20-odd kilos here or there.
Yeah.
When you were trying to cut weight after rugby as well, you dropped... When you were on keto, that was the biggest one, right?
I did 30 kilos.
Yeah,
30
that
kilos.
was huge, actually. But you're not a nutritionist, right? So you can't do it with any level of... You can't say with any level of certainty scientifically that this is...
Look,
you know what I mean?
I'm not gonna give people advice that they need to do this sort of diet because I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian. I can only give the anecdotal response of what I experienced.
And that's what the Carnivore podcast would be, because I'm in exactly the same boat there as well. So I set myself a specific goal and hit those markers pretty much dead on. So without any... If I was to be confident and egotistical, say, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing, but I can't say that with any degree of scientific accuracy. So it's always going to be anecdotal. But yeah, that's what these ones will be more like. Instead of trying to prove points, it's more just.
Yeah, it was, and that's the thing as well, is because I do enjoy the podcast where I'm talking with people that are top of their field, but I also just want to be able to chat about current events and things that are happening in the gym, or things that are happening with what are you trying for training, what are you trying with your diet. And it doesn't have to be I don't have to dig through journal articles to give myself references here.
Exactly.
We can just actually just talk and throw it out. It could be the Brain Trust. It could be the Brain Trust.
The Brain Trust
podcast.
Okay, cool. We could, like, sure, it's not a Bro Science podcast, we could call that the Bro Trust, right?
The Bro Trust.
Just put a little bit of twist on it.
We'll think about it. We'll figure this out.
We've got to find a name.
Yeah.
Also, for all of those 47 listeners out there.
Well, to be fair, I think it's 51 now because of my recent posts. This is the social media train that I'm talking about, guys. So please, if you haven't done so already, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, alright? We're going to be putting out a heap of content.
And we do want a tagline or a name for this particular style of podcast.
That's right.
If you've got any good ideas, let us
Leave
know.
some ideas in the comments below. Give us a name for the Adrian and Evan podcast, where we're going to be talking about everything, not just specific parts of sports and science.
So far, all I've got is Adrian and Kevin, but that doesn't really make any sense. So.
It makes zero sense. We're not going to have that. Even if that's all that gets recommended, we're not having that.
Fair enough.
Well, I think that's a pretty good introduction podcast for the pair of us. To introduce ourselves to the new listeners and the people that have been listening.
To our expansive audience,
That's it.
Yeah.
Guys, it's alright. Only 949 more subscribers until we can monetize.
Yes. Let's start to count it down.
That's it.
Awesome.
Guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We're going to have a heap of content for you coming soon.
Catch you next time.
Bye.
Cool. I like that. That was good. That was really good. Sweet.